my Toronto prediction already looks. Well, it was already bad, but now it looks.
Okay, so we.
Raptors?
Okay, got it. Wait, maybe. Is it going? Yeah.
Who are they playing in? 76ers?
Yeah.
76ers are a really good team.
All right, heads up. I started the stream accidentally because it's working.
Okay.
But we are not gonna go live for another 4 minutes.
Okay. We'll just.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was working.
Yeah. Might want to turn off the music.
Why? This is pre-show.
Well, I don't know. You remember YouTube and then.
YouTube's not gonna claim this. Okay, fine.
YouTube's pretty bad with that.
But it's like
I know.
there's 0 people watching.
I know. And that's the best part about YouTube is they don't care if there's nobody watching. You can't post that. You can't use music.
All right.
Gotta find some like copyright free. Shane started singing for us.
Yeah, Shane, give us a song.
Give us a song. You got 4 minutes. Get entertained again. 3 people on YouTube.
There's 0 concurrent viewers.
So like I have to come up with something original. I can't like sing something.
Yeah, Shane, from the heart.
You gotta come up with an original song.
I feel like that job is more suited for Jeremy.
No.
Jeremy doesn't know how to sing.
No, I don't know how to
Jeremy's
sing.
a terrible singer.
Yeah, I'm like
But
the worst
he
singer.
did band, so he could probably come up.
No,
with
he was a terrible singer.
Doesn't mean anything.
Have you ever heard this man sing? It's
I
the
have.
worst.
It's the worst.
Honestly,
Makes people's ears bleed. Like,
my
literally.
ears quite often bleed. Yes, when he sings.
Wow.
Wow.
Unfortunately, your ears must have been bleeding last Friday, when you guys were doing karaoke.
They were. Well, I was next to Megan, so like she kind of drowned him out. She can actually sing, unlike Jeremy.
Yeah.
It's true.
True.
Um,
So Shane, can you explain to me how
Yeah.
the Capitals have a 50% chance of winning the Stanley Cup this year?
They don't.
They do.
Who says who?
Me.
math.
Math.
They either win or they don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't. That's
Yeah. They're going against Florida.
50% chance. They either win or they don't.
So that
Are they locked into that spot?
if I were a betting man, I feel like they're gonna play Florida in the first round.
Okay.
Unless
Good thing you're
Boston.
not a betting man.
Yeah, good thing you're not.
Yeah.
Because you lose that bet. I'd play. I'd be in that.
Would
I'm
you?
playing.
Would you lose that bet?
He would.
I don't know if he would.
I don't know either.
The only hope the Capitals have of getting out of the first round is that Sergei Bobrovsky sucks in the playoffs again, which is not without the realm of possibility. But then again, the Panthers are scoring 4 goals a game, and I don't see the Caps scoring over 5 or Vitek or Samsonov like turning into the second coming of Holtby.
Right.
So
Well, actually, let me tell you. Actually, no. We'll save that for the later conversation about Hall of Fame goalies.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I spent so much time doing research into this.
Okay. I haven't spent any time because
Yeah.
you know.
No, it's just because I just like went down this rabbit hole last night about the dead puck era, which is the era of hockey we are currently in, but we are slowly climbing out of it because goal scoring is trending upwards.
Hayden, which mic are you on?
I'm on L.
Heads up, 20 seconds.
Gotcha. Again, like I'll go on a whole rant after I wrap up the NHL, the brief NHL news we have.
There's so much baseball news.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so much. And I'm gonna break down every single game, every single inning of every single series. Jeremy said, "Yeah, hey, there's not a whole lot of news." So I was like, "Can I talk about every single inning of every single game?"
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Triple Threat Show on WXJM and WXJM.org, 88.7 FM, Harrisonburg, Virginia. And I said the website already. I kind of did a little out of order. But
It's okay.
this is the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus, joined as always by my 2 friends and co-hosts.
Shane?
And
Hayden Raymer.
how are you guys doing on this fine Tuesday?
Doing good. Not a lot of complaints. Right now I'm enjoying the calm before the storm.
The storm?
Next week, it's just all the assignments are due, all the finals, prepping.
That's
so,
this week for me.
yeah.
Tomorrow, actually.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow. I have to go take a test, and then I have a 5-page paper that I haven't started. That's due tomorrow at 11:59.
All my stuff is due like next week or 2 weeks from now when they got finals. So like I'm just enjoying the calm before stuff hits the fan.
Yes, but very fancy. We tried a YouTube stream last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's working now.
It's working now.
It's working now. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was working last week too.
It kind of was.
And then his
We couldn't
laptop
see Hayden, and my
Couldn't see
laptop died. So we're gonna try to avoid that. Hopefully it doesn't die.
This time my laptop will die.
I can't guarantee that, but we can see Hayden this time.
We can't.
Yeah. So go check us out, Triple Threat Show on YouTube. It's
If
pretty
you'd
cool.
like to see our lovely faces.
Yeah. Anyway, without further ado, I say we start the show. Yeah.
What
No?
are we getting started with?
We're gonna start with some Jamie Swartz report, as
Oh, of
always,
course.
because of course. So
We've done that before.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I have a question for you.
All right.
What sport do you want to start with?
Baseball.
Baseball. Excellent choice, Hayden. So there's this dude. He's a rookie. His name is Ryan Dooley,
Mm-hmm.
and he was named CAA Rookie of the Week this week after hitting his first career home run and then his second career home run in the same game, along with another hit and 10 RBIs that week.
Yeah.
So he had an incredible week. I think he's filling in for Chase.
I don't know where Dooley plays.
Me
I'll be
neither. I
completely
tried to look
honest.
it up. It was a little hard to find, but he had a really good week. He's the first freshman to hit 2 home runs in a single game this season. So
For JMU or in CAA?
in the entire CAA.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
So awesome. And some not awesome news. The dude that has been very highly touted by MLB scouts, Chase DeLauder, broke his foot.
Oh.
So Hayden, what does that mean?
He's gonna be out for 3 weeks, which is pretty much most of the rest of the season. Yeah. So
What-
not great news, but
What does that do to his draft
Yeah,
stock?
draft stock. What does that do to him?
I mean, a fractured foot isn't really like the worst thing in the world. That's not gonna kill his draft stock. He might fall a little bit because teams aren't seeing as many games of him.
Yeah.
But he still had a strong performance to start the year, and still had his really good Cape Cod performance last summer. So it shouldn't fall. too
Shouldn't
much.
affect it too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm
When-
pretty sure he'll still have time to go make it up a little bit.
I don't know how much longer the season is. So
When's
Not
the
much
MLB draft?
it's in
it's
June.
In June?
July.
It's in June. Unless they moved it because of the lockout stuff.
No, it would be July because it's the All-Star break now.
Right. Right.
So it's the end of because it's funny, they do the College World Series, and then the next day.
It's July 17th
Yeah.
and ends on July 19th.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's a multi-day event, like all
Yeah.
big sport drafts.
All right. Yeah. So, not much. That's good.
Not
That's
much,
good
hopefully.
news. That's good.
I think it's any performance that he had on the field affects it more than
Do you see where he is? Obviously pre-injury.
pre-injury.
Did you see where he was? Had he changed?
A lot of mock drafts had him going in the middle of the first round,
Right, so he
that I
dropped a
saw,
bit, but not too much.
and then there was one writer for The Athletic who was very down on Chase, and I was like, oh, that's not great to hear. But I think it was more for how he loads. He has a weird stance thing with his foot.
Mm.
I can't remember how it was or what it was exactly off the top of my head, but
Isn't that something you can coach, though?
well, I think he talked about that was a lot of where success came from, and it's just unusual, and so teams don't like to go with the unusual; they like to go with the projectable and easy
Yeah.
to see and something that everyone has. A repeatable delivery for pitchers, a nice fluid swing for hitters, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, it's I mean, obviously swings are coachable. It is, but it's also at the same thing where if you're touted as a hitter and that swing has gotten you this far, it's a habit and it's
Mhm.
hard to break a habit once it's there.
Gotcha.
I mean, it is coachable. You've seen guys change their swings in the past. It's not like a thing that hasn't happened.
It's
So
not
you've
like it's
also seen
insurmountable.
guys change their swing and see less success.
Right.
It's kind of
Yeah. There was I remember they changed Daniel Murphy's swing and then he had a real nice stretch at
Max
the end of his
Muncy,
career.
Justin Turner.
Right. But there's also people that it just doesn't work for. So it's a roll of the dice there. So you never really know.
Gotcha.
Anything else for baseball?
Not that I had.
I'll move on to football. There was one big piece of news here. Coach Kurt Signetti signed a 3-year extension that will keep him with JMU through the 2027 season. He's been here for 3 seasons and he has seen unprecedented success. obviously they were good beforehand, but he's brought a whole new level of success. They've won 3 straight conference championships. That's actually the first time that's happened in program history, which was shocking to me, because when I think of the CAA, I think of JMU winning every year.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time it's happened. In all of 3 of his seasons, he has led them to at least the semifinals, and in 2019, his first season, he led them to a finals appearance. And also, he's had a 33-5 record overall, which is very solid. So we'll look forward to more success as he guides us through the transition to the next level. We'll see how that goes. It's good. It's important to have a coach locked up because, leadership. You'll have players change every year in college and in the pros, but if you have a nice base of the culture there, it's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, I was going to say, you already established a really good winning culture with JMU, so
right.
Good to keep him long term.
Yeah, that's one of those things that's super important. That some people just are like, oh, he's a coach. He's obviously a really good coach, but it's just people don't think of it. Men's tennis, they finished their season. Yeah, their season is done.
Mm-hmm.
They were 14-6. Excuse me. We talked about their perfect home record last show. Excuse me. And they had one final honor. William Karpinski and Oscar Hernandez were given the doubles team of the week for the last week of the season. So, pretty good season for them overall. Hope to improve it.
Yeah, so they have a .7 win percentage, which is the highest since 1989-1990 season, where JMU finished 16-2. So, not only a great season, but a historic season for JMU tennis.
Yeah. Then, women's basketball, we had Kiki Jefferson. She was named to the first team All-State for the 2nd year in a row. Now, I was trying to do some research on this because I really wanted to see how many players JMU has ever had make this team, and it just wasn't available. So, that's a bit of a shame. But I did find 2 years in a row for her, so congratulations.
Yep.
I wanted to go down a list, I really did, of all the people that have done it.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, was not to be. All right. Shane.
Yeah.
Golf.
Oh, I was not expecting it to go there. Okay.
Golf. They also finished their season. Amelia Williams had her 3rd top 10 finish of the year. And this was, once again, a historic season for the women's golf team. They broke 3 school records for the season. They broke their team scoring average. So, the whole team added up together through all of their tournaments. The record before this year was +13. Not very good.
Yeah.
They destroyed it. Their new record was +5.
Whew.
It's like 5 point something. It's got a bunch of decimals.
Yeah.
Decimals. Excuse me. But when you improve it by 8 strokes on average, that's insane.
Yeah.
So, and obviously with that, you had the top 3 individual averages of all time, led by Kendall Turner, who had 73 point something. The last thing they broke, they had Kate Owens had 88 birdies on the season. Birdie is, better than par.
Yeah, it's like 1 under.
Yeah, it's 1 under.
Mm-hmm.
She had 88 of them. That's a good number. I'd like to say that. 88 is a good number. But that's a new school record.
Mm-hmm.
So, congratulations. Obviously, an awesome season for them. They'll look to continue their success next year.
I love the progress you've made with your snapping, Hayden.
Thank you.
It's
I'm
very,
just now
very
noticing that he's got it now.
It's very impressive.
Only on this hand. The other one.
The other one not
got
so
nothing.
much.
We don't talk about the other.
We don't
It's
talk about the other hand.
Hey, well, you made
I'm a
progress though.
lefty.
You
I'm a
went
lefty.
from
It's all right.
you went from not knowing how to snap to look at you now.
Yeah, the
Snapping
progress
at
we
will.
see on the show.
Yeah.
Progress. Beautiful. We love to hear it and see it.
Love seeing growth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. As
Sure.
a person.
It's our favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
Lacrosse.
Oh yeah, let's go.
All right.
Other favorite thing.
I know Shane doesn't like lacrosse, so Hayden, I'm gonna talk to you about this one. They stayed at number 11 in the national poll
Of
because
course.
obviously
Yeah.
they're really, really
Really
good.
good.
They scored more than 20 goals in both of their last 2 games.
So like more than 40.
Yeah, outscoring their opponents 43-12 in
Okay.
these last 2 games.
That's solid.
Very good. 20 goals is not easy to get in lacrosse.
That is insane.
And now they are on an 8-game win streak.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what their longest win streak in program history is?
9.
No.
8.
No.
10.
It's 11.
Mm.
You're close, though.
I was.
Shane wouldn't. I didn't ask Shane because he didn't know.
He had no idea.
Yeah, he had no idea.
He probably would have guessed like 86 or something like
probably
that.
some
It's
incredibly
outrageous.
wrong. Yeah. So 11. That was back in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna look to break that record. We'll keep track of that. So, hopefully they can cheat. Shane, you look like you have something.
Yeah, I have notes on that. So we watched the
Liberty game.
Liberty game at least like one quarter just because they were blowing them out, and you just started to feel bad for Liberty at some point because they were just getting demolished.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So during that Liberty game, they just dominated on draw controls. Rachel Maddie just won every possession. She had 14 out of the 21 draw possessions. And Isabella Peterson had another 5-goal game. That's her 5th 5-goal game in the last 6. It was just a dominant performance throughout. And for the William & Mary game, Rachel Maddie had 4 caused turnovers, which is high of the season for her. And Casey Nablock had 4 goals that game, and Katie Tchaikovsky with 6 points, 5 of them being assists. So this team all around, they have really good players at every single position. You have Rachel Maddie being the shutdown midi. You have all the offensive weapons and Isabella Peterson and Casey Nablock, and then of course we have an all-star goalie in Dougherty. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this team does in the future and in the playoffs.
I don't think there's playoffs.
There isn't?
No, because of the whole CAA thing.
They got kicked out of that?
Yeah, everyone did.
I thought that was like
Yeah.
every sport.
Every
Remember
sport.
talking about that?
Oh, on their schedule, I thought I saw.
They can't compete in the CAA ones, but they can compete in the NCAA ones.
Yeah.
So they can't get the auto bid, but they can. I'm not sure how lacrosse playoffs work.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
we'll look into that for next show.
11th ranked team.
yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Swim and dive, Hayden.
Yeah.
Our resident expert. I'm
Mhm.
sure you already know about this, right?
No, I honestly, just baseball's on, so I completely forgot swim and dive existed.
It's all right. Jess Prine and Madison Cottrell, they were both named to second team All-State. Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Swim and dive team obviously had a really good
They
season.
did.
They broke a bunch of school records and they won the championship for like the 3rd year in a row or something like that. So awesome to see that.
Congratulations to them.
Mm-hmm. Tennis, the women's tennis, they also finished their season.
Mm-hmm.
They had a 9-11 record, but they played some really tough opponents.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up a nice ranked win against Michigan State earlier this year and played like 4 other ranked matchups real close. So, it was I think I saw it was like the toughest schedule in the program's history. And they did really well for the opponents they were facing.
They held their own.
Last but not least, the last thing I have for our excellent JMU Sports Report.
Mm-hmm.
The women's track and field team competed at they hosted something. They hosted a event.
Yeah.
Here.
The JMU Invitational.
The JMU Invitational. They had 7 first place finishes. Not only that, 3 of those were meet records. It's not just school records, like records for every single person that's ever competed at this invitational. Ever. And Rachel Lloyd was named CAA Player of the Week. She set the pole vault meet record.
Yeah.
So
the height of 12 foot 10 inches. The previous record was set in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the previous record was?
It was. They only showed it for meters. So Rachel Lloyd had 3.91 meters, and the previous record was 3.8 meters.
She beat it by less than a meter.
Yeah.
Still.
That's still
yeah,
massive.
Yeah.
When you get to that much,
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Anything is anything.
I mean, she beat it by an entire decimeter, so that's really impressive.
Whole decimeter.
Yeah.
That's a term I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
I'm in
Decimeter.
physics right now, so like I'm converting those measurements.
Wow, look at that smart man over there.
Oh yeah.
All right, Shane.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some hockey?
Oh, let's do it.
All right.
So first off, we'll start off with. So we were watching the Minnesota Wild play the Edmonton Oilers last week, And during that game, Kirill Kaprizov, the Wild's best player, kind of hit Kailer Yamamoto, and then Evander Kane comes out of nowhere to defend his teammate and hits Kirill Kaprizov. And in hockey, if you hit the best player on the other team, you're gonna face some repercussions.
Yeah.
And so Ryan Hartman drops the gloves. He goes after Evander Kane, but the refs are there to like separate him and stuff. And as the refs are like taking the guys to the penalty box, Evander Kane gives him the middle finger as he's skating away. And me and Jeremy saw this live. I was laughing, and as soon as I saw that flash across TV, I knew that the image will forever live in infamy for Ryan Hartman. And so, of course, Ryan Hartman gets fined for it because, it just looks bad for your image on the NHL when you have like that image floating around. He got fined, I believe, $2,400. And after that, people started Venmoing Ryan Hartman to help pay for the fine. And one of the people who helped pay for Ryan Hartman's fine was Evander Kane's ex-wife. As you know, Evander Kane, he's a common discussion on this show. He's got a very...
Only positives.
Yeah. Very hectic off-ice situation going on. Very public, ugly divorce. And his ex-wife goes out of the way to give Ryan Hartman $200 to help pay for his fine. But since Ryan Hartman's a great guy, he's like, look, I'm paying the fine with my own money, but since I've had a ton of people Venmo me, I'm going to donate this money to the Children's Minnesota charity. So because of this situation, he raised over $35,000 for the Children's of Minnesota charity. So him flipping somebody off led to over $35,000 being given to Children's Minnesota charity. So that was just a very interesting sequence of events that happened for that incident.
Yeah. I mean, giving money to charity is always a good thing.
Yeah, just very weird
circumstances
and leading of events.
Yeah.
But it was like very funny just seeing that live, and you're just like, oh, I can't wait to see the fallout from this. And this, I don't really have a good transition for this, but in sad news, one of the greatest goal scorers in NHL history has passed away this week. Mike Bossy, he passes away at the age of 65. So we talk about how Alex Ovechkin is going to be one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, if not the greatest. He's going to pass Gretzky's records. And Mike Bossy, you could make an argument that he is the greatest NHL goal scorer of all time if his career wasn't shortened due to injury. So he played in his prime was in the 1980s when he was part of the New York Islanders dynasty. They won 4 straight Stanley Cups.
That's pretty good.
So one of the most underrated dynasties in the NHL. He holds the record for highest goals per game with a minimum of 200 games played. He has .76 goals a game, which is the highest in NHL history. Yeah. So that's more than Gretzky, more than Ovechkin. And again, if it wasn't due to injuries, he probably could have padded his stats a lot more. Because he only played like 10 seasons in the NHL. And in those 10 seasons, he is tied most for the most 50-goal seasons with 9. And granted, Gretzky had a much longer career. And he still has the same amount of 50-goal seasons as Gretzky. And he is also tied for most 60-goal seasons with 5. Like, we're talking about how Austin Matthews is very close to getting 60, and how that's such a rare achievement. This guy did it 5 times. Granted, in a league when there's a lot more scoring, but still, it cements him as one of the best goal scorers of all time, again, if it wasn't for those injuries. So, to the New York Islanders organization and to Mike Bossy's family, we're sorry for your loss, and he was just such a great player for them, and just underrated career, and I don't feel like topic for greatest goal scorer of all time. His name doesn't get mentioned enough. He should be thrown out there with the likes of Ovechkin and Gretzky.
That's what happens with injury late in your career. If you're not there to watch it, it's one of those things that sometimes just fades off. Yeah, it's a shame. So, you know, well, that's it's always those those what if situations in sports that just hurt the most a lot of the times.
Well, that's one of the most impressive things about Alex Ovechkin. Like, one of his most underrated achievements, he's played in 96% of his NHL games he could have played in. Like, this man hasn't been injured. which is very impressive for his play style. And just, you're going to target the goal scorer on the other team. And Ovechkin is really impressive how he hasn't got injured, which is why he's so close to breaking Gretzky's records, just because of his ability to play and be available.
Right. Availability is your best.
Yep.
I forgot the saying, but...
Your best ability is availability.
That's the one.
You
got it.
My lacrosse coach liked to tell that one to the player who kept on getting penalties. Because, you're a great player, but remember, your best ability is availability.
It's true.
Not get tossed out in the first period of every game.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
So I was talking about goal scoring. There hasn't been a lot of goal scoring in the past. Well, goal scoring hasn't been as high in the past 20 or something years. We are currently in the dead puck era, which is the era from the 1945-1995 NHL lockout up until now.
That's a very long time.
Yeah. Well, we're just now kind of coming out of it with goal scoring on a rise right now. We probably are at the end of the era, which makes Ovechkin's career a lot more impressive because he was able to put up those numbers in the league average where goal scoring was at its lowest.
Okay, but if you're starting this era in 1945...
1994.
Okay.
You said 1945.
You said 1945.
I'm so sorry.
I was like, that's a long
That's
so
like
sorry.
almost 100 years.
I misspoke. Yeah, 1994 to 1995 lockout.
50-year lockout.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
1994, 1995 lockout. I'm sorry.
I thought MLB labor negotiations were bad.
So, after the lockout, so the 1996 season, it's been the lowest goal scoring in the time span.
Mm-hmm.
And part of this was due just to the improvements of just goaltending and defensive systems. So, the average in the 80s was about 7 goals a game, and then it dropped down to 5 goals a game in the late 90s throughout the 2010s. And this season, it's back up to 6 goals a game. So NHL scoring is definitely at an all-time rise. So, and the reason for this is that we have a lot of potential Hall of Fame goalies. Because I was going down this rabbit hole. Yes, they're playing with a much better defensive system, but the goalies just revolutionized the position during this era, and they were just shutting teams down. And the past 3 goalies to get inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame are arguably the greatest goaltenders to ever play in the NHL. You have Patrick Waugh, you have Dominic Hasek, and Martin Brodeur. Some of the best NHL goalies to play all time, and they are the last 3 previous Hall of Fame goalies. And looking at all of the goalies who are at the end of their career and who are already retired, who are eligible to become in the Hall of Fame these next few years, I'm just looking at their numbers, and there could be a lot of goalies in these next few years that could go into the Hall of Fame
Shane,
just because of the era.
How many goalies are currently in the Hall of Fame? Do you have that number off the top of your head?
There's I want to say, if I had to guess right now, I would say around 40.
All right.
And
That's not a lot.
Yes, and since the league's been around for a long time.
Is it a big hall?
Is it easy? How does Hall of Fame voting work in the NHL?
36.
There's 36 goalies.
37 defensemen, while only 36 goaltenders.
Yeah.
How does Hall of Fame voting work?
So after 4 years after you retire from hockey, there's this committee full of former GMs, players, etc.,
right,
that vote on your eligibility to be in the Hall of Fame. So you have to get nominated, and then they vote on it.
Is it more like the NFL where X amount of people get in every year, or is it more like MLB where you need to reach a certain threshold to get in?
I am not too certain about the specifics of that rule, but usually they give it to about 4 or 5 people every year, from what I've seen. I'm not sure about the specifics behind that.
Okay. That's fine. All right, so who are these goalies?
So
what do you have?
I have a tier list.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
he's getting fancy with it.
I have a tier list of people who I think are first ballot Hall of Famers from this. Well, I'm basing this largely off the past decade because that was the year I started to pay attention to hockey.
Right.
And sort of most closest comparable. And then I have non-first ballot Hall of Famers or fringe Hall of Famers.
Okay.
So they're,
yeah,
I don't know if they'll be first ballot, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got in.
Okay.
Or they should get in.
So why don't we do it like this? You got first ballot, that's the no doubters.
Yeah.
You got the guys that probably should make it, and then you've got the fringe.
Yeah. And then I have long shots who like good careers, but there's an argument, but not as much for them.
Okay. What you got?
So
Start at the top.
first ballot Hall of Famers, I have Marc-Andre Fleury.
Okay.
Vezina Trophy, 3 Stanley Cups, played a long career, third most wins all time.
Right.
Like, no questions about that. Roberto Luongo. He's eligible for the upcoming Hall of Fame class. He doesn't have a lot of hardware. He doesn't have any Stanley Cups. He doesn't have a Vezina Trophy. He does have a Jennings where his team had the lowest goals against.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the third goalie to play over 1,000 games in the NHL. He had a long career.
Does that matter?
That matters.
He's an
longevity?
accumulator. There's
Yeah.
2 different types of
Right.
Hall of Famers. There's
Yeah.
guys who were just in the league for a long time and
Yeah.
accumulated that stuff.
Right.
Well,
Sounds
yeah, to
easy.
play that long and to have a save percentage of .919, that is extremely impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I just like yes, it's accumulators. There's a debate for like how much that should weigh in, but playing that long and having a save percentage that high is so impressive. Like playing into your 40s, and he also won 2 Olympic gold medals. So I feel like that, just his longevity of his career and just having the 2 gold medals for Team Canada, those stacked Team Canada teams, I think that gets him into the Hall of Fame first ballot.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's fair.
unquestionably.
All right.
And then you have, for my final one, I have...
Final one.
Final one in the
First
no
ballot.
doubters.
Okay.
You thought there were more?
I did.
All right.
Go
Well,
for it. Who
That's
you
the
got?
debate I have. I have Henrik Lundqvist.
You don't have Carey Price up there.
Oh, I forgot Carey Price. Sorry. I am
I
just all
was
over the place with this
I was
list,
gonna
yeah.
say 2 more. I was gonna say
Yeah.
Lundqvist and Price.
Yeah, Lundqvist and Price, those are the final 2 I have.
No
That's me.
Vitek Vanecek? No, he didn't allow a single goal while he
He's
was
still got a
with
lot
the-
of career left.
The Kraken.
Yeah, he's
His career's just starting.
he's got a career 0 goals allowed on the
When he's
Kraken.
with the Kraken, like
Yeah.
that's
That's a team record. No one's ever gonna beat that.
exactly.
So, of course, Henrik Lundqvist, he's one of the best European goalies of all time, probably second only to Dominik Hasek. He's going to be the best Swedish goaltender of all time. Just
I
one of the
don't
most
think you
dominant...
need to put that many caveats on it. He's one of the best goalies of all time.
Yeah. He's a lot. He feels the greatest in a lot of categories. Greatest Ranger goalie of all time, etc., etc. He has a Vezina Trophy, and it's just a shame he couldn't get that Stanley Cup or go on a should have gone on more runs. But he was the most dominant goalies of the past decade.
You don't get called the king for no reason.
Yeah. And he's like up there with all-time wins too.
Right.
And then Carey Price, of course. I know he's kind of at the back half of his career. Injuries has kind of decimated, and playing for Montreal doesn't help your record when you're not on as good of a team. But prime Carey Price is unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's just, and he is one of the only 4 goalies to win a Hart Trophy.
This is the MVP for people that don't know.
He has an MVP as a goalie. Like, that doesn't happen that often. And he won the Ted Lindsay Award that year too. He won, which is most outstanding player. And he also won the Vezina and Jennings. Those are the goalie awards for best goalie and lowest goals against. So having all of that, like that one season was spectacular, and just having the career he had, like carrying Montreal to the Cup Finals last year.
Is that
just
the
having a
greatest
solid-
goalie season of all time?
Arguably, yeah.
Okay.
There's a few down the list that we're going to get to. And so that's I have for, like, no doubt Hockey Hall of Famers.
That's fair.
And so here are my fringe Hall of Famers. So we have Pekka Rinne of the Nashville Predators.
Do you want to start with the guys that probably will make it but won't be first ballots before you go to fringe, or is that all together?
That's all together.
Okay.
Like non-first ballot, but I can definitely see him being a Hall of Famer.
You got it.
We have Pekka Rinne for the Nashville. He was like the Nashville Predators franchise goalie.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't play. He played a lot this past decade. Not as dominant as Henrik Lundqvist, but he's still up there. He's very similar to him, like Scandinavian, just not as many games played, not as well renowned. He got a Vezina later in his career. He had 1 Stanley Cup final run. So he's kind of like got all the credentials, but again, just compared to the other goalies on the list, he's kind of like a tier down.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Sergei Bobrovsky.
Really?
Yeah. Because he has 2 Vezina trophies. He's played a while in this league. If he can keep playing...
But you mentioned it as just technically before the show.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it earlier. He struggles in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And goes back to like a clutch kind of gene that I think is super important if you want to be up there. Obviously, no doubt how good he is, right?
Yeah.
He won multiple
regular
Veznas.
season, just having like winning 2 Veznas, competing against the other goalies on this list, like you can't take that away.
But there's people obviously it isn't in order, right? But there's people I'd put ahead of him.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he's much more on the fringe side than he is the
fringe
probably should get in
Yeah.
kind of guy. Just because his lack of playoff success. Obviously, he has time to change that.
Yeah, with the Florida Panthers,
he's still
that team is
playing.
loaded.
Florida has a very real chance of going on a run this year.
Yeah. So if he gets the Stanley Cup, guaranteed first ballot.
Yes, but I think I need to see a little bit of playoff success
Yeah.
before I wouldn't say first ballot, but before I say
He's all of Fame.
absolutely.
Yeah. Like again, those 2 Veznas, it's hard for me
It's
to
hard to argue against.
hard to argue against that. And then next on the list, Jonathan Quick.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Quick just hasn't had the consistent dominance in the regular season to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. But it's kind of like he has 2 Stanley Cups. He has that Conn Smythe. He has the highest save percentage in a Stanley Cup playoffs. And he has a Jennings, which is lowest goals against.
He's got a couple gold medals, I think.
No, he's American.
Yeah.
So he has a silver.
I remember him being on a couple real good American teams when I was younger. I don't know if they
I don't
won.
think he was.
I don't remember
No,
if
I don't
they
think
won.
I don't think he has a Olympic medal because he wasn't on the 2010 team.
Yeah, but he was on the he was on the 2010 team.
We can Google this real quick, but
He was definitely on the 2010 team.
was Jonathan Quick on the 2010 Olympic team?
Yeah.
Oh, he was. Yeah, you're right. My bad.
Yeah, that's what I remember him from.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's got a silver medal. It's just I don't know. It's just he had like the LA Kings haven't been good in the past years, so that's kind of a knock against them.
Well, you could say the same thing about Carey Price.
Yeah, but Carey Price has that.
Carey Price
Has
is
the
Carey
hardware.
Price.
He's got the hardware, yeah.
I'm not saying anything about Carey Price. I'm just saying you could say the same thing.
But he's like he's an accumulator now, so I can definitely see him getting in at some point.
Right. No, I agree. I agree he should absolutely get in.
And then the final person I have on this non-first ballot but fringe Hall of Fame, like this one I was really torn, but Tuukka Rask.
Why were you torn about him?
I just don't like. I can definitely see him being first ballot, and he's like one of my favorite goalies to watch. Just I've seen him play for the Boston Bruins, and just he's one of the reasons why Boston has been one of the most competitive teams this entire decade. And he's just seeing him take these Bruins on these playoff runs and just being so consistent and dominant in the regular season. He has a Vezina trophy, all-time Bruins wins. But again, it's just he doesn't have that sole Stanley Cup because he was a backup when the Bruins won. He was the backup.
Like Tim Thomas.
Yeah. But he's got the longevity and he
It's a
has
pull.
Good job.
He has the longevity, and if the Bruins won those Stanley Cups when they made it to the finals, he was winning the Conn Smythe if they won. Because I know they lost it to Chicago, they lost to the St. Louis Blues, but if they won any of those playoff series, he was going to get the Conn Smythe, no questions asked. So like I struggle with him. Like I think he's definitely a Hall of Famer in my opinion. I just don't know first ballot.
Okay. Is that level?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it for that level.
Because I think you left someone off.
Who did I leave off?
Andrei Vasilevsky.
Well, he's got a lot of career left. And he's not really a goalie of this past decade. His career's just starting. Like if he just plays average for the next few seasons, he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay, I thought we were going through modern era goalies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he's young. He's still got a lot of career left. If he plays a few more average seasons, he's a Hall of Famer because he's done everything already.
Right. All right. Go ahead.
And then we got the long shots.
Long shots.
Underrated goalie Ryan Miller. He was the starting goalie for the U.S. Olympic team. He was with Buffalo when they last made the playoffs. Like he has a Vezina trophy. He was one of them. He was more of a 2010s kind of goalie, but he was kind of like a solid backup fringe starter for the 2010s. Just saying, one of the best American goalies of all time, underrated career. Helped Americans get a silver medal.
You just told me he was a backup
fringe. Towards the end of his career.
Okay.
Towards the end of his career. He played a long career.
Because I don't know about you, but I'm not putting a backup fringe starter into my Hall of Fame.
No, he was like a starter.
Number 5 starter of it.
Yeah. He was a starter for Buffalo when Buffalo was a relevant playoff team in the 2010s. Not 2010s, the early 2000s. And then towards the end of his career, he was more of a backup fringe starter, kind of floating around teams looking for that cup. just couldn't get it together.
Lars Eller, Hall of Famer.
No.
So I just wanted to shout him out. And then Hall of Fame long shot, I have Corey Crawford.
That's fair.
He, again, very short career due to injuries, but
He's got the hardware.
he helped Chicago win those Stanley Cups. And
Right.
he was a solid goalie. It's just injuries really shortened his case. And then I have, these two for me are interesting. I have, first off, Braden Holtby.
That's the one I was waiting for
Yeah.
you to mention, because I think that he's super interesting too.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had what was it, 4 or 5 year
He had
run with the Caps.
He had 5 years of just dominance with the Caps. Like
Arguably best goalie in the league there.
He has a Vezina, he's a Jennings, he has got a cup.
Yeah, led him to a cup, one of the most iconic saves in NHL history right there. Against Tuck there in the finals. But we had this conversation about a month ago. Not exactly this, but there was something about just the not having the dominant longevity.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about a guy like, what was it, Mike Smith you just said?
Ryan Miller.
Ryan Miller. Sorry, it's a very average name.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Miller.
It's like someone who's in one of your classes.
If you're talking, again, I don't know anything about Ryan Miller.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard of him.
He was the starting goalie for
Right.
the 2010 Olympic team.
Right.
For the
But-
USA.
No, he wasn't. That was Jonathan Quick.
No, Ryan Miller was in the gold medal game against Canada.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a starting goalie for that.
But Holtby just seems like better.
And more dominant.
Like he was more dominant.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that
And
anyone was more dominant for that stretch
He's
of time.
tied with Martin Brodeur for most wins in a season.
Right. It's hard to argue that someone was more dominant in a stretch of time than Holtby was there.
Yeah.
Like obviously,
those Caps teams were so good.
uh,
And then he won one towards the end when the Caps team weren't as the most best team in the NHL.
Yeah. So I think he is better shot than Ryan Miller.
Yeah.
Ryan Miller. That's
These are Hall of Fame long shots, so this is kind of like they gotta.
I would put him more
Tough
in the.
argument.
I'd put him more in the fringe category than the long shot.
I'm just like, if he retired right now, it's kind of hard for me to see him make it. But if he plays
he's got
a few
couple more
seasons,
years.
he's at 299 career wins, and he's injured right now.
He'll play more games.
So I'm like,
he's
he
not
better
done.
play one more game to get the 300 wins.
He had a good season with Dallas this year.
Yeah, he did decent. Yeah, he's definitely got still a few years left.
Someone will give him a chance.
If he plays a few more years, I think he's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And the final one, this one's really interesting. Tim Thomas.
Oh.
Do you remember who Tim Thomas is?
I did. I said his name earlier.
Yeah.
He did.
He was the starting goaltender when Boston won their Stanley Cup in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
He was the predecessor to Rask. Is
Yes,
that the right word?
yep.
Yeah. And he has such great numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the seasons he's had is some of the best seasons for a goalie ever. He had an insane playoff run.
Yeah, I just remember
He's got the
him from
Vezina, he's got the
run.
Jennings. But the problem is his career was so short.
Right, because he did the playoff run and then he immediately got hurt.
Yeah, he has a great story though. He became a starting goalie in his mid-30s.
Mm.
He didn't get his NHL chance till he was in his really late 30s, and then he just went off with Boston.
Right.
And he was one of, if not the best goalies from early late 2000s to early 2010s. He was one of the best goalies, but of course since he was older, he didn't get as much opportunity. And he has such a short career, it's hard for me to justify him being a Hall of Famer, even though he was so dominant for a span of 5 seasons.
It doesn't work for everyone, right?
Yeah.
But a kind of metric that I like to do with Hall of Famers, and again, I'm going to preface this with it does not work for every single player, because there are some guys that just are I like to say, could you tell the story of the league without this guy? Now, it doesn't work for everyone, because there's a guy named David Tyree in the NFL who was the receiver on the helmet catch.
Yeah.
He's not a Hall of Famer, but I don't think you can tell the story of the NFL without him. It doesn't work with everyone, obviously, but it's a pretty good metric that you can base a lot of people off of, whether or not they should be in the Hall of Fame. It's obviously not perfect.
Yeah.
But does he fit into that? Could you tell the story with or without him?
It's kind of hard to talk about those 5 years without mentioning Tim Thomas.
Right.
Which is why he was such a...
So then it's totally fair to
flip-flop.
have him in the
Yeah.
conversation. if you can confidently say, oh, people can forget about this dude, and it won't change how they remember
the
baseball
Bruins
history.
don't win that
or
Stanley
not
Cup
baseball.
if not for Tim Thomas.
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go. Obviously, that's not a perfect metric.
Yeah.
It really isn't. There's so many outliers with
Yeah.
that. But it's a nice little like eye test right off the bat that you can kind of do for these type of things. So if you say no,
Yeah,
get
I just
him
don't
off.
think it's long enough for.
But if you say yes, it's totally fine
Yeah.
to have him in that conversation.
I mean, you can still have the conversation too. I think
Right.
talking about that thing,
Yeah.
talking about sports is the best part about sports.
Right.
It's having these fun conversations.
Right.
Oh, is this guy a Hall of Famer?
Right. No, it's fair. It's just that's a nice little kind of metric I like to have. It's not statistical. It's like the eye test.
Yeah, for like Hall of Fame long shots, Tim Thomas is definitely the most interesting name on this list.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
And that's all the goalies I have. And like I was just saying
Left off
before,
Vitek Vanacek.
I had just going off of this. We're done with the goalies.
yeah, we're done
But-
with goalies.
Obviously, it's been an incredible era for goaltending, and these guys are gonna retire soon, and you just have to appreciate what we had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in the modern era, today, there's a playoff race happening in hockey,
Yeah.
right? The East has locked up everything.
It's been locked up for a while.
Right, but all teams have officially clinched now.
Yeah.
There's no everyone in the East is in the playoffs or out of the playoffs. It was a foregone conclusion, but it's there now.
Mathematically.
Yes,
Or
mathematically.
Mathematically.
Yes.
Air quotes.
Do you know if there's still movement for seeds, or is that also locked in?
Yeah, so for the Western Conference, it's
Just
down-
for the East. Well, I've got some for the West in a second,
Yeah.
but is the East locked in? Like
East is pretty
locked?
locked in. Like I
Alright.
don't really see much movement going on.
Before we move to the West, I want to talk about the Capitals.
Yeah.
Because they are hot right now. They are.
One of the best times to be
Yes,
hot.
this
in
is
the
this
NHL.
is one of the most important things. You don't have to be generally the president's the best team in the NHL doesn't win usually.
Yeah.
It's whoever is hot at the end, and the Caps are hot right now. In their last 7 games, they're 6-1. In those 6 wins, not including the loss because that was a blowout loss.
Yeah.
It was 7-3, but they've put up 34 goals in 6 games. That's almost 6 goals
And
a game.
most of those teams are playoff teams.
Most of them. They
Yeah.
put up 6 goals against the Penguins. They put up 9 goals against the Flyers, which are not a playoff team, but
Yeah.
still 9 goals is not easy
Yeah.
to do. And they put up another 8 against, I believe, the Canadians. Again, not a playoff
Yeah.
team, but still hard to do. Their offense is clicking right now.
And they just beat the Colorado Avalanche.
They just beat the Avalanche 3-2 there. So, 34 goals in 6 games is insane.
Mm-hmm.
You can beat anybody if you put up that kind of offensive or those kind of offensive numbers. And if the Caps can stay hot, they obviously they're not the team to beat in the East. They're not top 4 team to beat in the East either.
But the most NHL thing is to have a 7th or 8th seed make a run.
Right.
Because
The
that's
most
the NHL for
the
you.
most important thing in the NHL is to be hot at the right time.
Yeah.
It's a lot like baseball in that
Mhm.
way. You don't have to have the best record, you have to be hot at the right time. And the Caps are super hot right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, it'd be awesome to see another cup run. I'm not
Optimistic.
optimistic, but it'd be
You gotta
awesome.
get through Florida.
It'll be a fun storyline.
It'd be super cool. And then to the Western Conference, because
Yeah.
this is super interesting. I was looking at the standings earlier. The Canucks have won 6 straight games,
Wow.
and they are 1 point behind Vegas.
And then Vegas is like,
Vegas is
4
4
points.
points out of a wild card.
yeah.
5 points out of a wild card. Excuse me. Vegas is 4 points out of a wild card.
Yeah.
The Canucks are 5 points out of a wild card. Nashville and Dallas both have 91 points. Vegas has 87 and 80. Yeah, they have 87, and the Canucks have 86.
And Los Angeles is.
Los
not-
Angeles is 90.
Yeah.
So
So Vegas could take their spot.
yes, but the Canucks again, another hot team. We didn't talk about them earlier. I was looking at these schedules. The
Yeah.
Canucks have a nice little chance. The Vegas has gone cold. They
Yeah.
have. They got some people back from injury, but that hasn't really kickstarted them like it was supposed to. And the Canucks are a little scary right now. You know?
I was so high on the Canucks when Bruce Boudreau was named the head coach and they went on that win streak.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of tapered off. I would love to see Vancouver make it. It's just on paper that team looks so good, and
They also-
just can't get it together.
They've got 6
consistently.
games left.
Yeah,
So they have time. I think everyone has 5 or 6 games left in the
Yeah.
season. They have one less game. They've played one less game than the Kings.
Yeah.
So that gap is
The
super
Kings
close.
got an easy schedule, though.
Yeah.
But they
So-
can easily screw it up.
They play the Canucks a couple times.
Yeah.
I think that's just a team to watch real quick because we had not talked about them. Just keep an eye out because they're storming towards that
That'd be
playoff
so fun
spot
if they
right
made
now.
it.
Yeah.
I don't think Vegas is making it, by the way.
No, I don't think they are either.
So I think Nashville and Dallas are making it. I think the Kings and the Canucks are probably going to battle it out for that final spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Who knows?
The Ducks.
The Ducks have been eliminated, unfortunately, and so have the Sharks. They're on
See,
a
that's what they say.
They say they're mathematically eliminated, but what is
In my
math
heart.
know?
They still got a chance.
We love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. All right.
Just
Did you?
dissolve the franchise.
That was what I had for hockey.
Yeah, that's all I had for hockey.
Do you, Hayden, want to take us into a little bit of baseball?
No.
Okay, we'll do it anyway, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, so as you all know, we do a little fun player from each league. Now that the season started, so in the American League, I have Jose Ramirez. Got his nice little contract extension to stay in Cleveland, and he absolutely destroyed the Reds. Had like a 2-home-run game. Just absolutely destroyed them. Through his first 9 games, he has a 298 WRC plus, which one small sample size.
What's a WRC plus?
So essentially, there's a stat called WOBA.
Yeah.
Which is the weighted on base average, which
Yeah.
is just how much do you get on base, or words hard, brain no work. So they each result of a plate appearance has a different number attached to it. So a walk is worth the least compared to like a hit by pitch or a single or a double or a triple and a home run. And each one has a higher value.
Yeah.
And then that's the weight. And then the WRC plus part of it takes that and figures out, okay, how good are you compared to the league average, which is 100?
Yeah.
And then it weights it by your ballpark that you're playing in. So he is 198% better than the average hitter through the first 9 games, which is
Pretty good.
pretty good.
Oh yeah, you're almost 2 times better than the average player.
Almost 3 times better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just insane. Very good player,
Mhm.
Jose Ramirez. I hope he wins an MVP one day because he's really good at baseball. And the other player in the National League is Clayton Kershaw. Now, he wasn't necessarily the best player, but he did throw 7 perfect innings against the Twins, which is pretty impressive. Perfect game. Doesn't happen all that often. Like 26, right?
24.
24 in history of baseball.
Wait, someone had a perfect game?
No.
Threw 7.
Oh, through 7.
And then they
you-
pulled him
you-
out
yeah.
of the game.
Yeah.
There was a whole, all of baseball Twitter was in outrage for yanking Kershaw because, he would have been the 25th if he finished it. But he's coming off an injury last year. He's older.
Kershaw also said it was the right decision.
It was the right decision, but how much is that him defending Roberts?
I mean,
I don't think he cares.
who knows?
Yeah.
I don't think he cares.
I think he cares.
I think he cares
When
a
the
little
player says, "I don't care,"
I think a perfect game. That's like the one thing that Kershaw doesn't have on
that's the
his
one
resume.
thing most players don't have. The last perfect game was in 2012.
But I mean, that's like the one thing that he does not have on his resume.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got no hitters, right?
Yeah.
He's got
ring.
got a ring. He's
Got
got
an
a Cy
MVP,
Young.
Cy Young. He's got everything.
He's got everything. He doesn't have a perfect game, which, that's not something you should expect someone to have.
No.
But when you're 6 outs away, and you're 80 pitches deep, and you have a guy like Clayton Kershaw, who, like we just mentioned, it's the one thing he doesn't have, you let him pitch. Your team literally just put up 5 runs in the inning or something like that.
They hit back-to-back home runs.
So he had runs up. He had like a cushion
Mm-hmm.
if he messed up. It's not like he gives up 1 hit and then the Twins come back and win the game.
Yeah.
It just obviously they want to keep him fresh because they're expecting to win the World Series and
Mhm.
he's going to be a massive part of that.
And there's a shortened spring training where their arms aren't entirely built up, so it's just
A perfect game is a different scenario.
Yeah.
It really is. And it honestly is a shame to see it get ended because you just pull them.
mm-hmm.
Are there timeouts in baseball?
Technically.
I mean, in between the
because,
innings.
You can go out to the mound like 5 times a game and go talk to people.
Because I feel like
really
that's a conversation to be like, yo.
Well,
they
talked about it in the
Okay.
dugout. It was also cold.
It was also really cold. It's Minnesota.
They're in Minnesota, so
Against
obviously it's cold.
It was like 37 degrees.
Yeah, we
and
just found out.
That's not good for the arm.
It can snow in April in Harrisonburg, so imagine what Minnesota's like right now.
So, it honestly is just unfortunate, and I really wish they had let him at least try. I'm not saying he was gonna do it, but
or he wanted to try.
He looked locked in, like he had 13 strikeouts or something like that.
13 strikeouts, and then he got another 7 and 5 against the Braves yesterday.
So he was locked in.
He's locked in right now. I'm a little scared because Pete Kershaw is like one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Arguably one of the best left-handed pitchers of all time with his career.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he does what he's doing so far, where like he has like a 3 ERA right now, and like the expected numbers are like, oh, he's supposed to have like a 1.9, and it's just, I don't know how you beat Kershaw when he's on, and
you don't. When Kershaw's on.
You just honestly, I don't know why you even go to the plate.
It's like a goalie. You know, you can get pitchered, just like you can get goalied.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have elite guys that can come in, and even if you have the top to bottom a lineup of the 9 best hitters of all time, if a pitcher's on,
I mean
you can't do anything about it.
The Braves right now, kinda, not really. When they have Acuna back, they're one of the better lineups.
They got the Dodgers.
The Dodgers there, but yeah, the Braves are one of the better lineups in the league.
No, I know.
It's not like he's doing this against like the Orioles.
Right. I'm not saying he's doing it against a bunch of scrubs. I'm just saying it doesn't matter if you had a lineup of 9 Mike Trouts.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a pitcher that's on, the pitcher's on.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't do anything about it.
I mean, that's what I think. Like talking about the teams he faced is important because I think it makes it even more impressive.
Yeah.
Because he's not dominating against like the Royals or the Orioles or the Reds. He's playing the reigning World Series champions in a team that just added Carlos Correa and have Byron Buxton. Like, scary.
Yeah, it's very scary.
But yeah, and the other thing I wanted to talk about, real quick, was Joe Madden, the manager for the Los Angeles Angels, fun name, decided, I'm going to walk Corey Seager with the bases loaded.
We were actually talking about this last show.
Yeah,
we saw that happen, yeah.
Did that happen last show?
No, it didn't happen, but we were talking about it. It might not have been last show, but it was recently, where we were talking about how good Mike Trout was or something, and even he hadn't, been walked with the bases loaded.
Yeah.
It was in a recent show, we were talking about it. But, Corey Seager, it happened to him. Against Mike Trout.
Was it intentional? Or?
It was
There
intentional.
was an intentional walk where, there's a little gif out there of Mike Trout. He's standing out in center field, and then he sees, like, the call for him to be intentionally walked. And he's just, like, completely shocked and confused. Because, it's Corey Seager, very good hitter.
He's very good, yeah.
Very good.
World Series MVP 2020. But
Rookie of the Year. This guy's really good.
He's not Barry Bonds.
He's not Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
It's not like he had, like, some scrub behind him. He had Mitch Garver, who's one of the better hitting catchers in the league. And it's just, what are you doing? I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
I'm guessing they, who won that game?
The Angels did.
Of course, yeah.
Well, they came back because then they were down by 1 when they intentionally walked Seager. So then they were down by 2, and then Mitch Garver hit a ball out in the outfield. The runner tagged up, scored on third, and then the reliever then balked, which means that his motion was funky, and he didn't. I don't even understand what a balk is, Jeremy. I'm gonna be completely honest.
Oh, okay.
Like, I know what a balk is.
I know.
But it's like, it doesn't make sense, and it's very inconsistent.
Let's explain a balk, though, because Shane doesn't know what a balk is.
I don't even know how to explain it.
Okay.
Is it when he, like, messes up the pitch or whatever?
So, you know how you can throw over to a base and try to tag him? So basically, there was, I don't know exactly, this is a rule to avoid it from becoming unfair.
Yeah.
Basically saying once you start your pitching motion, you have to pitch to the plate.
Yeah.
You can't start your pitching motion and then surprise, turn over and throw it to first base and get the guy out, because that's not fair, you know? So that's very basically what it is. There's a lot of minute details. I don't know the exact letter of the law here, but it's something like once your momentum starts going towards the plate,
45-degree angle.
you have
So
to.
is this like the MLB version of like the catch rule or like goaltender interference, where it's just like it's super inconsistent how it's called?
It's a judgment call, kind of.
And there's like players who like
have super weird motions.
And so then they abuse that, and then they get those.
There's one motion in particular, Johnny Cueto, where he, you know how a pitcher does, he like does his leg and step towards the plate. I don't know if Johnny Cueto still does this, but
Johnny Cueto's not even in the league right now.
Yeah, he is. He got traded to the White Sox earlier, or somewhere.
He signed a minor league deal with the White Sox.
But what he would do is he would lift his leg up, rotate all the way around to where he was basically facing second base.
Yeah.
And then unwind and pitch, which is insane, first of all.
To be able to have that balance and body control.
It was super funky to watch, but it's also the type of thing where he's up on a leg and he's turned around until he flips his hips again and goes towards and like steps down towards the plate.
Mm-hmm.
If he stops his flip at first base and steps towards first, I don't think that's a balk.
Yeah, it's super weird.
It's super weird.
There was a player on the Mariners who got thrown out because, like, he was just standing still because it looked like the player was genuinely going home, and he threw it at first, and it was just like, what happened there? And they didn't call it balk, but it's kind of infuriating.
So it's a kind of judgment call.
Yeah.
There's obviously stuff you're looking for, but it can be one of those things that's not. It's not like a kind of thing where it's a catch or not a catch, you know?
Yeah.
It's something that is a little subjective any way you look at it.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha.
It's one of those weird things.
So back onto the topic of hand, what we were talking about.
Well, so when you balk, then all the runners advance one base.
Yeah.
And so then he balked in a runner.
Yeah.
And so now they're down 2-6.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no. And then they get the next guy out, and then the Angels then come back, score 5 runs in an inning. Now they're up 7-6, and then they cap it off, win 9-6. As they do. And Joe Madden was like, "Yeah, I know I did that to motivate my players to
motivate." Is that the reason he gave?
That's the reason he gave, was to light a fire under their butts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think that's the wordage.
He won, so weird call.
He shouldn't have won.
But
no,
yeah.
Joe Madden is a guy.
Joe Madden's a guy. He's very influential. He's won a ring.
He won a ring with the Cubs. Actually, I remember this. He got hired by the Cubs in early 2010s, right?
Yeah.
And he was
a Rays guy.
He was like, he came off a lot of success with the Rays.
Yeah.
And then he just left all suddenly. And he was like, I promised the Cubs are going to win a World Series in 2 years. It took him 3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone was like, he's crazy. I mean, I was watching this. Maybe not everyone was, but I was like, he's crazy. The Cubs suck. They always suck. And obviously this was during the whole curse of the GOAT or whatever it's called.
I don't know what the curse.
That was the same time oh my god, the Back to the Future prediction.
Yeah.
2016.
Mm-hmm. So he made that happen, and then he went, and then he had a couple bad years after that, and then he went to the Angels.
Yeah.
But he's a dude. Generally, success has followed him, but
he also quirky and does weird stuff during spring training.
He doesn't seem like,
or just walk a guy with the bases loaded.
He does weird things, but it somehow works out half the time for him, which is weird. I don't understand how things work out for him.
I mean, he's just does weird stuff during spring training too. You know how Davey Martinez, Nats manager, he brought out camels.
What?
During spring training, Davey Martinez brought out camels.
Hold on, I need you to tell me this story, but we just reached the top of the hour.
Okay.
So we'll get right back to that.
Okay.
Like I said, we reached the top of the hour. This is the Triple Threat Show on WXJM 88.7 FM, Harrisonburg, Virginia, and WXJM.org. My name is Jeremy Lapidus. host of the Triple Threat Show, joined as always by my two friends and co-hosts,
Shane Brislin.
And
Hayden Raymer.
Thank you so much for listening. Hayden, please tell us about camels and spring training.
Okay, so I don't know if you remember back in
I don't.
2018.
I don't.
So in 2018, the Nats let go of Dusty Baker. Well, they don't let go, but they're
right.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, we don't want you anymore. And they hire the Cubs bench coach, Davey Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Davey Martinez, he was under Joe Madden, so some of the quirkiness might have rubbed off on him. And so Nationals had a history of not getting to the playoffs, but not winning any games.
Just like any other Washington team.
Yeah.
Except the Redskins. But that's
the wrong name.
Oh, sorry.
It's twice removed.
Warriors.
That's also not
Commanders.
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 I mean, that's twice removed wrong name. You know.
They've been through so many names at this point. It's just like I don't even know anymore.
Anyways, then to be all cool and stuff, he was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring in camels for all my players.
Like
and
a camel, like a personalized camel for everyone.
And I think it was like they had like 4 or something like that. So they brought in camels, and they're like, oh, guys, we're gonna get over the hump.
All of that.
It worked.
All of that for a
Not that year. Then they lose their franchise star, and then next year they win it all. But it was very strange. After that year, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that again. That was probably a bad idea." But yeah,
where did he get these camels from?
I'm sure he rented out there was
zoos.
There was.
Is there just a camel rental company down in Palm Beach?
Alpacas here in Harrisonburg.
Right, but it's not like I'm going to be like, okay, guys, as a team building exercise, I'm going to rent out 4 alpacas and bring it to the studio.
There's got to be a zoo. There's got to be tons of zoos who have them. You're like, hey, can we just use them?
It's Florida. I think that's it's Florida.
After you said Florida, no need for other explanations.
Goes out to the Sahara Desert, just airdrops 4 camels.
I mean, I think Madden, he's brought in magicians during spring training. Just clowns, weird stuff like that.
Baseball's weird.
Baseball's so weird.
Baseball is so weird.
There's so many weird people in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Baseball is weird.
We love baseball.
All of this because we were trying to talk about how someone was walked when the bases loaded.
No.
Yeah.
It was, I mean...
It made sense if you followed the conversation.
Yeah. I just like how it all started, and we've taken so many.
Anyway, circling back to that, because we.
I mean, that was pretty much all I had for that. It was just
I mean, but that hasn't happened since Barry Bonds.
Pretty much.
Right. And I don't think that's happened.
I saw
before
that
him.
YouTube video you told me to watch about Barry Bonds. It's insane how much he got walked.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds is insane. Yeah.
It's not even that he. It's not even that. It's also just the fact of the matter is that if he never swung a bat, he would still be, Barry Bonds.
Terrifying hitter.
Yeah.
He would still be one of the best hitters in the league.
Yeah.
Because pitchers were that scared of him.
I mean, he's not, they were terrified of him, also for good reason.
It's Barry Bonds.
It's Barry Bonds. So, yeah.
Corey Seager's not Barry Bonds.
He's not.
The Fangraphs did a fun article on this, and they ran the math. And it was, even if it was Barry Bonds, it wasn't the smart move. The only way it would be a smart move is if it was Jeff Mathis behind Barry Bonds, who Jeff Mathis is famous for being one of the worst hitters in the league. But because he's so good at catching and calling games and stuff, that they'll just give him a roster spot. I think when Rangers catchers or pitchers were caught by him, their ERA was a whole run lower. So I don't know, weird stuff. Fun article.
There was also extension.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That
37
happened.
minutes ago.
37 minutes ago. Kyle Freeland got 67 mil, 57 mil.
5 years, 64 and a half.
64 and a half. Close enough.
Yeah. With the Rockies.
With the Rockies, I don't know. The Rockies are doing a fun thing where they're just having a bunch of league average pitchers, and I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, that's about the best you can get in Coors.
Yeah.
It's not like you're gonna have an ace come to Coors because don't. If you're a pitcher, you don't want to go there. Balls fly. High altitudes,
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. It's a hitter's paradise, pitcher's worst nightmare.
Well, pitchers just break differently there.
Yeah, that too. Everything works differently up there.
And that's like why hitters, when they go on the road there, or like Rockies hitters when they go on the road after playing homestand, like they are worse because they have to readjust to the pitchers or the pitches breaking differently or more.
There's a lot of different things, but balls fly at Coors.
Yes.
So it's fun.
It is fun.
It's
Fun
very
park. Beautiful park.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Never been.
Me neither.
Oh, okay.
I've only
Have you
ever
been,
been.
Shane?
No.
I've only ever been to one baseball
I've never been
park.
to a baseball park, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll have to fix that.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, so even like the Norfolk Tides are near me. I don't even know what.
Orioles? I think it's Orioles.
I've never heard of the Norfolk Tides.
They're like a minor league team. I've never went to one of their games.
Norfolk Tides are. Who's their affiliate? You guys can. We're talking about basketball
Yeah,
now?
we're going to move on to basketball while you look that up. The NBA playoffs have started, and there's a few interesting stories coming out of the beginning of the first round of the play-in games. So,
Yeah, going back to the Norfolk Tides,
Yeah, go
AAA
for it.
affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles.
look at you go,
Got Adley.
Mr. Baseball Man.
Adley, Grayson Rodriguez should be on that team right now. It's a fun team. You should go watch a game there. What?
Nothing.
What? Adley's going to be there.
Yeah, not for long.
Not for long. I don't know, man. It's the Orioles. He might be there all year. Anyways,
Yeah, basketball.
fun.
NBA playoffs have started. Play-in games have ended. So technically, those weren't part of the playoffs, but I'm going to call them part of the playoffs because I want to.
Yeah.
The big story coming out of there, the Timberwolves. We'll get to the Timberwolves in a second.
Yeah.
But I want to get to the Clippers
Mm-hmm.
because in the 8 seed game after they lost to the Timberwolves, they went to go play the Pelicans, or the Pelicans came to go play them. And right before the game started, I think the day beforehand, Paul George, their star player, tested positive for COVID. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I personally have not heard about COVID in a major sports setting in a very long time.
Oh, there's outbreaks all over the MLB right now.
I know a player from the Minnesota Wild tested positive too.
But yeah, all right, okay, maybe I'm just not hearing it then.
Yeah.
But this is probably coming from a world because the NFL stopped testing during playoffs. Basically, they said it was optional, so obviously they didn't test really. And you know, that's not the smartest decision, but it also helps put the best product on the field. It helps avoid something like this, where Paul George, who the Clippers probably would have won the game, if not for him being out. They lost by 4 points.
Oof.
Final score was 101 to 105. So you think Paul George definitely accounts for at least 5 points, right?
At least.
You know? And that's the type of thing that it's unavoidable, but at the same time, I want to preface this purely in the sports sense. Purely in the sports sense. Obviously, stop COVID outbreaks. If you test positive, don't go play sports, you know? But just removing that for a second. Purely for a competition's sake, right? The NFL did what it did. They stopped testing. The NBA hasn't stopped testing, which I commend them for, honestly. I really do. It's a tough decision to make because you obviously you want your star players for the most important time of the year, but at the same time, you don't want to compromise their health.
Yeah.
So it's a decision that each league has to make on its own. The NFL made a decision.
I believe the NHL stopped testing.
The NHL made a decision.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of shocked the NBA didn't go the same way, honestly. Not to say I don't agree. Not to say I agree, but you want your stars when you're going to have the most eyes on you, and you're going to have the most eyes on you in playoff time. And to lose the Clippers star player in a win or miss the playoffs game is absolutely massive. And it's something that I'm not on NBA internet that often, but it's not a conversation that I heard a lot of. You know, I saw it reported, and then life went on, you know?
Yeah.
But I was just curious what you guys thought, because obviously this is the type of thing where you have to balance product versus safety. I didn't know what you guys were thinking about what the NBA should do here. because they don't want this in a Game 7. You don't want this in a finals. You don't want Giannis to be out in a deciding game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want KD to be out in a deciding game. What should the NBA do about this?
The rules are the rules. Like, if you test positive for COVID, you have to do what you have to do. So if that's the rules they have set forth, then they just got to follow them at this point.
That's completely fair. Yeah.
I mean, I think NBA is a lot different than the other sports because
It's a much smaller roster.
Well, that and like
one player.
The contact between like fans and the players, they're like right there compared to the other sports.
I don't know.
I don't know.
A little bit, but not. It's there is a little bit of a buffer still. It's not like they're in between them. There's still a little bit of a buffer. You know.
Yeah.
The stands and there's a little bit of space.
But it's like compared to the other sports,
right?
Like,
it's not as much.
Much closer contact with fans, and so it's like you kind of have to, because like even if you had the players isolated, you know, like you make everyone on your hockey team, nope, can't touch anybody outside of like your family, and like your fellow roster people. Like you can't. There's not that contact with fans, but with fans they could. It's a lot easier to transmit anything really.
And it's not even really that. It's more, obviously, like, I agree with you guys are saying, follow the rules. COVID is not something we want to spread.
Yeah.
Get tested, you know, keep the testing going. But it also is a thing where the NBA money-wise, it's the type of thing where, obviously, this technically wasn't the playoffs, so it wasn't a huge deal. But picture if Joel Embiid, in the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7, is out because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know, think of the uproar that Philly fans are going to have. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's that type of thing that's like, this is unfair. We don't have our star player. Look at all these other leagues. They've basically stopped testing. Why can't the NBA do that? Is what's going to happen if something happens. Right?
Well, there's always that the whole like, oh, you know, our team wasn't healthy, blah 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 blah. We would have won if all these players were healthy, but like.
But it's a lot different. It's a lot different. I think it is.
I mean,
yeah, it's a big.
It's different than if a guy tweaks an ankle and can't play than if he's completely healthy and has the ability to play but can't because protocols.
Yeah, I mean they're not 100% either way though.
Like, right. And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's the safe thing to do. I'm just saying if this situation happens in a higher stakes game than for the 8 seed that's going to get swept,
fans and the media.
It's going to be a massive story that's going to have more repercussions than just this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because people forgot about this. This was back on Saturday or Friday or something. Yeah. You know, it's not a big deal.
Why do you have to bring it up, Jeremy? Come on.
Because I think this is a super important. I think this is an interesting conversation to have.
What do you guys think about the play-in?
I like it.
I'm just kind of like, eh.
I think it gives teams a reason to not tank, which is the idea behind it.
I think, as a spectator thing, I don't think it's like competitively the most sound idea, but like, as a spectator, like that's like
it's an
must-watch TV thing.
It's an anti-tanking measure. And it's probably the best anti-tanking measure I've seen in any sport.
For me, if just I was one of those.
It doesn't really work though. They've done the NBA has done a lottery forever, and it still doesn't work.
If I'm just one of those 7th or 8th seed teams, I would just be frustrated because it's like we had 82 games to decide the seedings and who makes it, and now you're gonna make it.
Well, the 7 and 8 team have an advantage. They get 2 chances.
Yeah.
You know, the other ones don't. So.
Get one and done.
Yeah.
Like, overall, I'm pretty indifferent to it, but that, like, for me, out of principle, it's just like, whatever.
I just think it makes good TV. Like, it's exciting having.
It's like the first time I've actually watched NBA playoffs, and I understand why it's super entertaining.
Yeah, basketball is super fun to watch when all these players are really trying.
Yeah.
And that's an issue with the regular season, when a team is basically like, we're gonna make the playoffs, no matter what. Stars do rest for certain games, and then they don't try their hardest because they don't want to get hurt. That's fair. You don't want to get hurt, but when these stars are putting all they have into these games, it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the NBA playoffs is a lot of fun. But moving on from that, there's a few other things, a few other takeaways from the first couple games of the first round. The Timberwolves, they're playing so hard.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching this game. Obviously, Patrick Beverley, famed pesky defender. That's what he's known for. But you also have guys like Anthony Edwards, who's super young and has put up, I think there was a stat, he was like the youngest player to put up 30 points in a playoff debut or something like that. So they have Karl Anthony Towns. These guys are all playing their hearts out. They took game 1 versus the Grizzlies. And if they keep playing this amount of effort, it takes a toll on you. But if they keep playing this way, it's gonna. I think they'll advance.
Mm-hmm.
Which is super awesome to see. The NBA doesn't generally have a lot of upsets, because the NBA is a game where if you have one star, he can do all the work and it'll work like that. It's like one of the only sports that. It's like the only of the 4 American sports, or really any major sport, that you can have one guy really change things, So, it's one of those things. You don't see upsets a lot, so I'm going to keep an eye on them. See if they can keep it up.
And you thought my Timberwolves thing was crazy.
I did. I still do.
Well, out of principle, it was just like I was just rooting for them.
Principle.
Yeah. I had no expectations. It's just... I'm happy to see that it's going well so far.
Mm-hmm. And there's defense, the Celtics defense. Obviously, top defense of all time. It's up there for one of the best defense of all time. Defensive Player of the Year was announced yesterday, or 2 days ago. Marcus Smart. He's a guard. He's another pesky defender, dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's not as get under your skin type of guy as what's his name is Patrick Beverley is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still a real pesky defender. And, that defense is insane. They won game 1 versus the Nets, buzzer beater, which that was a really fun game to watch. That defense was insane. The Nets came back. They were down 15 at one point. And they came back because the Celtics offense went a little cold. And obviously when you have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they're pretty good.
He was going against his former team, right?
Yeah, Kyrie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a couple years off now, but it's still there. He didn't like his time with the Celtics. He went to the Celtics to prove he could do it on his own, because the only time he won was with LeBron.
Yeah.
And then they got Jason Tatum in the draft, and Kyrie got hurt, and the Celtics seemed to be better when Kyrie wasn't playing. So that obviously didn't end up too well. So then he went to join Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. So, yeah, it's going to be a really fun series to watch. That's my favorite series in this. The 2-7 matchups are really good this year, which usually isn't the case. So, those are fun to watch. And then, final thing I had for the NBA, the Warriors. We talked about them a little bit last show, but what we failed to notice and what we failed to talk about is that they unveiled Death Lineup 2.0.
What's that?
So, you remember the Warriors dynasty?
Yeah.
They had that lineup of Clay, Curry, Draymond, Durant, Andre Iguodala.
Yeah.
That was the Death Lineup. That was what that was called.
What a great name.
It is an awesome name.
Scary.
In these playoffs, they unveiled Death Lineup 2.0. It's not...
The sequel.
It doesn't have an actual name. People
Yeah.
are just calling it the new Death Lineup.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have a name yet. And it's the same team, a lot of the same players. This lineup consists of Curry, Clay, Draymond, Jordan Poole, and Andrew Wiggins. Now, what's so good about this is they have shooters, right? They've got 3 shooters. This time being Clay, Poole, and Curry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have these guys that just kind of cut around, and because you have to respect the shooting so much, that leaves the middle of the lane wide open. It's a small ball, so everyone on there can shoot. And, you cut through, and it's just ball movement leaves the middle wide open, and when the middle's not wide open, someone's going to be wide open, take a three. They're scary. They're so scary. They went on I don't have the exact numbers up because I couldn't find them total, but in Game 2, which was last night, when the Death lineup entered the floor together for the first time, they were losing 47-53 against the Nuggets. 5 minutes later, when they came off the court at halftime, they were winning by 20.
Think Golden State's back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Curry came off the bench because obviously he's been hurt, but he looks
fine.
He looks good. He played 23 minutes and put up like 30 points.
Yeah.
Typical.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Jordan Poole has been playing incredible. It's Jordan Poole season.
Mm-hmm.
We love Jordan Poole. He's a really good story. He came from the G League, which is like the NBA minor leagues. And he's now starring for a really, really good team. And we all said the Suns, except for you. We all said the Suns would make it. Did you say the Suns?
I had Phoenix making it.
Okay, I thought you said the Timberwolves.
No, I had them losing after.
Okay.
They had one upset against Memphis, and then I had them losing.
Okay.
I was trying to be somewhat realistic.
Okay, that's fair. I thought you had them going all the way.
No. I don't believe in them that much. I love them, but I don't think. It's Minnesota. They got to choke at some point.
So, I think they can really give the Suns a run for their money.
Mm-hmm.
Suns are incredibly talented. They go deep, but the Warriors, if they can...
Yeah.
If this lineup continues to do what it's been doing, they went on like a 22-6 run game 1 and then 28-3 run or something like that in game 2. It's insane. It's terrifying how good they are, but it's so much fun to watch. So, hopefully...
That'd be a good matchup, them in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be insane.
I agree. They'd be playing, I believe, round 2, actually. So,
yeah.
That's going to be a really fun matchup. Assuming they both advance, which they probably will. That'll be a really, really fun matchup to watch. So, we'll keep an eye on that. That's what I had for the NBA playoffs. I don't know if you guys had any more you wanted to add there.
I'm just surprised the Timberwolves won that first game.
No, they
was not
looked really
expecting
good.
that.
They play again tonight. I'm gonna
watch some of that game.
We're gonna watch that game. Yeah. So in the NBA, the rule for college basketball is 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes is the only thing that matters. In the rule for NBA, it's very similar. The only difference is you have to be within 10 points at that 5-minute mark. If you're at 10 points or less, that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
If you're more than 10, then it's not saying it's impossible, but it's
improbable.
Yeah, it's not like anyone's game at that point. You're at a disadvantage. You're still at a disadvantage down 10, but it's basically anyone's game.
Yeah.
Anyway, basketball playoffs are so much fun.
True.
Hayden,
Jeremy,
I have a question. You do have a question for us?
I do have a question for us.
Could you ask us a question, please?
Hayden's question of the week.
Hayden's question of the week.
Everyone's least favorite segment.
Everyone's favorite segment. Hayden's question of the week.
So I was inspired by the Hockey Hall of Fame discussion.
Okay.
And by inspired, I mean I came up with it during that discussion. Who is a player in any sport who you think was really good and deserves to get more Hall of Fame hype than they do? Could be somebody who's off the ballot, somebody who's coming up on the ballot and isn't a favorite, anything like that. Someone who doesn't get the hype they deserve should be a Hall of Famer, but don't get the respect they deserve. That makes sense?
I'm not gonna take your answer.
Do you know who my answer is?
I'm like 99% sure I know who.
When did my player play?
Like the 80s and 90s.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I was shocked. I thought you were gonna go talking about Dave Steve and everything.
I was not going to be talking about Dave Steve.
Okay. Well then
I have a more modern player.
Okay. Well, if you haven't watched it, there's a very, very nice documentary that SB Nation, or Secret Base, I guess now, did on Dave Steve, who was a pitcher for the Blue Jays back in the 80s and 90s. I really love everything they do over there.
Yeah, always great.
It's a really good series. It's like a 5 or 6 hour long thing.
It's not even 4.
It's 4 hour long episodes, hour plus long episodes.
They're not hour plus.
Yes, they are.
like an hour and a minute at most.
Okay, it's like 4 or 5 hours
It's
long.
4 hours.
It's split into 4 parts, and it's a very good series. The people there do a really good job whenever they do long form stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, go check that out. But he's someone that, I mean, obviously after that he's getting more recognition, but
Yeah.
he deserves that. I'm gonna think of someone for football
Okay.
because that's more of a cop out answer, I think.
Yeah.
But you can go ahead because I don't think Shane has an answer yet either.
Yeah, I'm just trying to Google some players real quick.
Okay. So there's this player pitched for the Mariners back in the mid 2000s, 2010s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now he's not eligible for the ballot yet, and his career was cut short a little bit by injuries. Also, just he was overused a bit, and that is Felix Hernandez.
King Felix.
King Felix.
King Felix.
And as we discussed, anyone whose nickname is King,
He's king for a reason.
pretty good.
Yeah.
King for a reason. And
He's the last dude to throw a perfect game.
last person to throw a perfect game. And something that Jeremy said is someone who can't tell history or baseball or whatever sport without King Felix. Definitely fits that mold. He was one of the most dominant pitchers for that era, especially in the American League. Kershaw was pretty good too. But
Yeah.
those two were like the best two pitchers in the league, and I think Felix had one of the more dominant peaks of the 2010s
Mhm.
in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, King Felix. King's Court.
So, going back to NHL goalies,
Yep, go for it.
one underrated goalie was Curtis Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So many white names. Might I say that?
Wow, it's not like hockey is a very predominantly white sport or anything.
No way, never.
Yeah. He had a good nickname, Cujo.
That's a good nickname.
Yeah.
That's a
It's like the
solid
dog
Yeah, like the double dog.
from Stephen King. Cujo.
So
Okay.
he's not a hockey Hall of Famer, but he played a long time. He was an accumulator. He
Mhm.
played for like 20 something seasons. He's like up there with all-time wins and stuff like that. So I feel like he deserves more respect, just the ability to play as long as he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a bunch of like fringe guys that I could get into, but I'm not going to.
Okay, so it's a good question. It's
Thank you.
something I probably need to put more thought into.
No.
But a guy like Patrick Willis, he was a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. He retired basically in his prime due to injury. And also he also was sorry. I just thought of a better answer just now.
Okay.
Luke Kuechly.
Okay.
Oh, that's
very-
a good one.
A very similar situation. They're both linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
They both were top at their position when they retired.
Mm-hmm.
Both due to injury / injury concern. But Luke Kuechly is a guy that was, when he was on the field, he was like the smartest dude on the field.
Mm-hmm.
He could basically read the mind of the offense, no matter what. It was insane. He was so good at football. But he just got a million concussions. And unfortunately, he retired. It was kind of shocking. He had finally had like a healthy season. And he was like, I'm retiring. I'm probably going to get another concussion kind of thing. But I believe he's the type of guy that he's almost eligible. It's almost been 5 years since he retired or something like that. So he's a guy that I think should get more recognition because he was so good at football.
Because Cam Newton takes a lot of the attention, but Cam Newton doesn't get there if you don't have the captain on defense in Luke Kuechly.
Luke Kuechly was incredible. And it's a shame his career was cut short, but he's a guy that would fit there. Anyway, excellent question, Hayden.
Thank you.
This has been the Triple Threat
Thank you,
Show
Shane.
on
No
WX
problem.
on WXJM 88.7 FM, Harrisonburg, Virginia, and WXJM.org. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus, joined by,
Shane Brisland.
and
Hayden Raymer.
thank you so much for listening to the Triple Threat Show. Good night.
Thank you.
So next week's show's the draft.